All right, I think we are rolling. Everything looks good. Rolling. All right, everyone. We're here with my man, Mr. Dai Manuel, at his amazing villa here in Canggu, Bali. And it's awesome because we're both from Vancouver, and we're just kind of talking about the lifestyle in Vancouver compared to Bali. And you've been traveling the world with your family for quite a while, and you've been doing amazing things in the communities that you go to. And we connected because you've got some great programs and communities you've developed here in Bali. So, man, you've got a phenomenal story, expert in the health and wellness and business startup industry. So thanks for taking the time today, and welcome to the show. And feel free to share a little bit about yourself and what's been going on in your amazing world here.
Yeah, I guess my world changed.
Yeah,
like a lot of us, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, look, you've been living in Korea, what?
Right, for a while. About 8, yeah.
8 years.
7, 8, yeah.
So you think about what happened for you to go from Canada to Korea, or Southeast Asia. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of similarities in our stories.
That sounds like it, yeah.
My wife and I started traveling 3 years ago, or just over 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Where I quit my career of 17 years. She quit her career a month later. We pulled the kids out of school, and we just packed up our SUV with whatever we could fit in our suitcases. Everything else we just gave away, and we just started traveling, and we were fortunate that we had just enough coming in, through what we were doing online to allow us to be mobile with how we were going to live. So it was very different, though, going from like a fixed salary, running a business, to going to a lifestyle that's not anywhere near as predictable. Yeah. But I think it's a lot more fun. But because it's our choice of schedule, right? Versus.
Yeah, I think especially coming from Vancouver, where it is kind of like we were talking about, kind of like the rat race there, and just the cost of living is one of the most expensive cities in the world. And so, what were you doing back in Vancouver before you went on this journey?
Well, if you go back like 20 years ago, I was a personal trainer, and I was finishing up at school. I did philosophy and English literature. Yeah. And, there's lots of jobs in those areas. So I thought, what am I going to do? I'll be a personal trainer, and, which is funny because that was always my passion. I love helping people get results. And then it sort of transitioned into life coaching as well. Still nutrition and fitness. But I got into business, I started selling fitness equipment. Okay. And crazy thing was I was just really good at it. Yeah. I enjoyed it. But it was my first time being in a commission-paid environment. Oh, wow. Okay. And the difference with commission versus results. Well, it's all results-based. The more people I could help, the more money I earned. Right. Like, wow, this is crazy. I'm still working the same amount of hours a week. Yeah. Yet my hours, I was producing a lot more. Right? And so there was no income cap either. And so I just sort of progressed in that industry very quickly. Right. And eventually got an opportunity to become a partner with a new company. And then we grew that to 8 retail stores and a couple of B2B enterprises. And then we also did e-com all across Canada. So it was really cool. So I did that for the bulk of my years. And, but then, things shifted. Yeah. Just, I realized as I was building my company and going through some own personal challenges, because if I ask you what success means to you, and think about all the people that you've interviewed, if you ask that same question, what's success to you? Yeah, you get all different answers. Everyone's got a different answer, right? Yeah, for sure. And I know what I was chasing, just, you get so used to chasing something. Yeah. You forget why you started chasing it to begin with.
There's a really interesting quote and like image. There's like, the corporate ladder. And then the guy's climbing up this ladder, and then you get to this top of this ladder, and then you get there and you're like, well, he's climbing the wrong ladder. Right. And there's another ladder, and then the pictures of this ladder over there that leads to happiness and fulfillment instead of like, status or material things or that next new opportunity. So it's good to know what you really want and put that ladder over there and start climbing that way instead of all these years going in a different direction, which I think a lot of people do, but it's cool. So what made you realize that you're going up the wrong ladder and you want to make a change?
Oh man, there's a lot of things. And it's interesting. At MENtorship Monday, I sort of shared, and we'll get to that in a sec, but I shared a little bit of that story. It's actually, I'm in my 10th year of sobriety, my 10th year. So it's not quite 10 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I think about it, that time's gone by like that.
So how old are you now?
I'm now 42.
So 42. So you started when you're 32.
Yes.
Okay. So where was Dai at 32 compared to where Dai is now?
Well, besides at the local bar, no, it was. I was. Well, you know, because I was
down in Kit's pub.
Kit's pub.
Yeah.
No, I never went there. I think there's a stool over there. But no, like seriously though, I found success quite early. You know, so I was in my mid-20s. You know, I got into this ownership role of a company that was growing, and just doing really well. Yeah. And here I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be the man. Okay. You know, I wanted to have the car. I wanted everything. Yeah, yeah. And then I met my wife. Yeah. And we had kids really young because I wanted to be a young dad. Yeah. Well, right? I just wanted to be a young dad. And also the idea of, you know, being 50 and still having kids at home. That kind of scared me a bit. I was like, I want to enjoy my life with my family. Yeah. But here is the catch-22, right? Is this idea of wanting to be this young, active, engaged dad. Yeah. I was so focused on building the business. Yeah. I actually missed out on a lot of the firsts with my family. Right. You know, I missed out on a lot of my first, basically, experiences with my kids, my two daughters, and yet I kept doing this. I just kept. It was okay because I was trying to provide. Yeah. I'm going to work really, really hard. Yeah, right. And then later, I'll be that dad. And so someday. My idea, and there was a lot of some days, a lot of tomorrows, which never came. And at 32, at my worst, you know, actually I was 31 at the time, so I was pretty bad. Like I was consuming a lot of alcohol, and which led to some narcotic use. Yeah. And it also led to the other things that can be attached to that lifestyle, which includes promiscuity. And just, I was very disrespectful. So here I was, this successful businessman, building that business, but like the guy, the face of my company, but I had a completely separate life, a different life. And the people I associated with, I mean, they were very supportive of that. Yeah. You know, like, and so just everything started crumbling though. Yeah. Like you can only do that for so long. Yeah. And it was crazy. One day after an all-night bender, sat me down. And I'll paraphrase the story just to get to the point. Yeah. Because this was the moment where things changed. You know, it's like, what was that shift? You know, and so it's almost 10 years ago. Christy sat me down and looked me in the eye, and I could tell this is different because all the times I'd be like, oh, don't worry, baby. Yeah. I won't do that again. Right. I won't do that again. You know, when you say that so many freaking times, I almost forgot that I wouldn't believe me, you know. And we got to a point, though. We got to a point where she looked at me and she just asked, are you being the type of man that you would want to marry your daughters? Wow, that's a powerful question. It is, right? Yeah. And that's the first time I really owned that I wasn't. Yeah. I would hate for my daughters to end up with a guy like me. And that was a sobering moment. That's a light bulb. Yeah. And so it was right after that I decided to make some shifts, make some changes. Right. Started with who I associated with and started seeking outside help. I got a counselor. Good. Got a shrink. Yeah. I started seeking help to work through some of the issues that I knew I had, that I was still masking, and filling this void that I felt inside me with all these other things just to really distract me. Sure. And that was the new journey of personal and professional development. Yeah. And, but you know what happens? Like you start to shift how you look at the world. For sure. And you start to reassess things. Priorities change. Yeah. And so that idea of success, it wasn't all this stuff. Yeah. Yeah. And it was crazy. Like it was just scary, you know? Yeah. Yeah, no, well, thank you so much for sharing that personal and kind of deep situation that really led to your transformation, because everyone's got stories that they don't really share publicly, but I think to do something like that on a venue like this, and that kind of leads to my next kind of topic, to kind of talk about what you've created with the men's group and the space and the guys around that, and talking about, you know, sobriety of 10 years. You know, I started my 2 years ago, January 2017, where I just said, you know what, New Year's, new me resolution. And I've been on the same pattern of just same thing, partying, dating, just like going out all the time. And just like, I was like, you know, how long does this go on for? You know, like I've been doing this for like probably 2 decades now, you know, since I was like 18. And I'm like, you know, if it's not going to happen now, when will it happen? And there's some events that led me to that. I'm like, well, I learned my lessons and I don't really want to repeat these situations. So, so yeah. And the thing that's really interesting that
when we had our Mentorship Monday, the first time I went, it was just so cool. And I just saw that your energy and just like, I didn't even know that you're a facilitator. My friend Nick, or our friend, mutual friend Nick that I knew from Korea, invited me out. And as soon as I met you, I'm like, oh, I just kind of have this connection before we even really talked. I'm like, this is somebody that I want to kind of associate with. And you've got a really good open energy, and you know, what you're doing here in the community. You're running Toastmasters. You've got this Mentorship Monday for a men's group. So what was kind of your process in wanting to start these and carry the torch with these? Because they're super, super impactful, and myself got so much value from it coming into this amazing country, but having a community like that right away to plug into was just like priceless. So how did all this happen?
First off, thank you.
No,
and also I want to acknowledge your journey.
Right.
Like, Quinton, that's no small feat at all. Right. And I'm so grateful that you made that choice and you're following through on it, because now you're creating amazing content to help other people with basically going through something similar, right? Like, I mean, that's all it takes is one little spark. Yeah. Like one little trigger. Yeah. And next thing you know, you're associating with different people. Sure. And you start seeing the world as different possibilities. So I really commend you for what you're doing.
Yeah. And, thank you.
You know, I got to give it all to my wife. You know, she asked me not only that question, but we are big believers in fostering communities. Okay, yeah. You know, it's the best way to make a great impact for a lot of people all at once. I mean, that's the benefit of community. Yeah, right? And, for sure. And we also know that a lot of the choices that we make in our lives, either positive or negative, are typically influenced by the communities that we're associated to. Absolutely, yeah. Very much so, you know, and so we're big believers that, well, life is short. You know, and I know that some people think very differently about that statement, but it goes by so quickly, and you start looking at the people that you spend the most time with. You know, Jim Rohn talks about us being the net sum of the 5 people that we hang out with the most. Yeah. Or like, well, what about the communities with hundreds of people in it? Like, there's that commonality that brings everyone together. Well, I want more of people that are on a similar path to us. Absolutely, yeah. And what better way to do that? You start to create groups where you attract those people, and so I think about it a little selfish with it this way, because I love to bring the value, but it's also my way of getting tremendous value. Yeah. You know, it's like you with the podcast. I totally get it. That's literally the reason why I started this, because in these 2 years of not drinking, I felt that I was really disconnected, because in Korea, they're the number 1 consumer of alcohol in the world. Really? In the world. I didn't know that. With only 50 million, these 50 million Koreans drink more alcohol than 380 million Americans. They consume. Dude, people just get blasted there. That's like crazy. Blasted. Like families out together drinking, businessmen on the street pass out in suits. Like it's ridiculous. And I was just got sucked into that vortex of just like that. Oh, this is normal. I had no idea that was like that. It's the number 1. Korea's number 1. Germany's number 2. Russia's number 2. Germany's number 3 for alcohol consumption. See, I would have thought Germany would be way up there with Oktoberfest and just beer. These Koreans, man, they just pound booze. But, yeah. So that's why I started this, because I'm like, I want to start reaching out and having, you know, I change my community since I'm not going out to the bars as much and stuff. So I want to start connecting with people like yourself. And that's why I think with this men's group, I'm just like, this is the most brilliant thing, because going there and just being in a community of like 20 to 30 men every Monday, just having these real, raw, authentic conversations that aren't out here when people are meeting for lunch. They're not really sharing what's going on. It's this fake superficial, like, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm great. Everything's great. But deep down, they're going through like this hardcore depression or divorce or something that they don't really have space to share. And what you've created is just so rare. And like my first night there, I was just like, wow, like this is just so important. And I have made a decision to bring this back to when I go. Can't wait. So what you're doing has this ripple effect around the world, because it's just like, I think and to hear what the guys are sharing, why they keep coming back, it's their community, their family, their foundation, giving them these avenues and connections for relationships with other men. Because I think one thing that's different between men and women, they're just like social butterflies. Get them together and they're just like, they'll talk about anything and everything. With guys, usually the only time feelings or real talk comes out is after a few drinks, you know? That's right. So that's what I love. And the thing that was really surprising at the last meetup, when you asked just after the topic, when we're talking about healthy living and stuff and how many guys don't drink. And like, I think there was like 25 out of 30 guys put up their hands. It was pretty, I've never like been in a group where that kind of response happened. Like that just says a lot about the type of people that are being invited by others to come and like we're all on a similar sort of path, and we've reached a certain point where we realize that this is actually holding us back.
Yeah.
And so we've made a choice.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're not drinkers. Like there was people that said, well, I occasionally drink, but it's usually a special occasion, right? But these are people that, that's a personal choice that they're making based on some other goals in their life. And you just ask yourself, well, is this bringing me closer, taking me further away? Well, and I think we've gotten very clear with that. And we've gotten very like, at that point in our lives, like you look at it, like our average age there is early 30s. You know, when I look at the spectrum, and in my 20s, would I have showed up for a group like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Knowing what I know now, I'd say yes.
Right.
But back then, knowing who I was, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't think I was mature enough, and I wasn't. I didn't know myself well enough to have felt comfortable in that kind of an environment. Yeah,
I think that's very true. But also, if you look back at it too, and you look at the results a lot of these guys are getting, like high level entrepreneurs, very successful, like dialed in dudes that are on a mission and doing incredible things. Whereas those are the guys showing up to groups like this. Whereas a lot of people that probably heard about it don't come because they might be out doing other things, which is no judgment or anything, but everyone has their own path. And it's really interesting actually, because on this past, I don't even know what day it is today, actually. I really don't. But a couple of days ago, I was out getting some water from the convenience store next to my place. And it was like late. It was like 1 in the morning or something on Saturday. And this Aussie guy was like, you know, super wasted. And he came over, he's like, what are you doing, Yank? You know, he thought he was American. I'm like, actually, I'm Canadian. And he's like, oh, same or something. And then he's like a funny guy. He was just joking. And then we just started talking. He's like, oh, drinking water, why not a beer? I'm like, actually, I don't really drink. He's like, what? Like, they're just like disgusted. and then, but here's what happened after that. And then I said, yeah, I've about 2 years, you know. And then he's like, really? Then he got all serious. He's like, you know, I've wanted to do that, but I would lose all my social friends. And he got really, really serious. And like, I could just tell. And I'm like, well, yeah, kind of so did I. But I've associated with other people that are, and then I told him about Mentorship Monday. He's like, I would love to come to something like that.
That's awesome.
And he's like, that's so amazing that there's like a group of guys that are just doing that. He's like, because with me, all my friends, we just go out, get shit-faced, and we just don't talk about anything real. Yeah. It's like this superficial, you know, he's like, they're my friends, but they're not really my deep, close friends.
Yes.
Like drinking buddies, you know? But that's what I think, like what you've created here with this men's group and mentorship, like, it's not that there's no real coaching that goes on in it, but it's just people sharing and just men being with men doing manly things, as weird as that sounds. But
you know what? Sometimes all you want is someone just to look in the eye and say, hey,
I get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
I've been there, or I'm going through that too. You know, I just know for myself, and a lot of the guys that I know, or I have known, we're really, what's very natural for us is just not to say anything.
Yeah.
You know, and
that leads to a lot of,
I mean, just dealing with your own depression and it's not like it's one of those things you can try to ignore it as long as you can.
Right.
But eventually it's going to manifest itself in other ways.
Somehow. Yeah.
Like I would see myself, you know, lashing out to my family. Right? Like these are the people that I hold near and dear to me more than anyone else.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes they see the worst of me.
Yeah.
And get the worst of me.
Yeah, right.
And why is that? Well, it's because it's usually just something else. It's nothing that they've done.
Yeah.
They just happen to be in the vicinity when something snaps, right? And it's awful, right? And so I found that the more people I associate with, the more, especially with like the Mentorship Monday, it's nice to have some close male friends that aren't all about going out and subduing that pain with alcohol. Yeah. Because that's who I used to associate with as well, much like yourself. You know, that was my social circle. So on the weekends, we'll play golf. Yeah. We'd end up on the 19th green. Yeah. You know, and I'd be lucky if I get home by 2 or 3 in the morning, and we'd wake up and do it again the next day. Like it was just
this cycle.
Oh my gosh! And I realized because I had to make some choices, some hard choices that I couldn't be around those people anymore.
Yeah.
And they didn't really want to be around me too. Yeah. Like, to be honest, because they felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like I tried going into the pubs, watching USC with them. Yeah. You know, but I was the only guy in there not drinking. Everybody else was drinking. You know, as the night progressed, you know, I could tell they were feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know how to interact with me anymore.
Yeah.
And you know, I used to think that I could help them. You know, but if you can't change the people around you, you just got to change the people around you. You know,
oh, wow,
I changed that association.
Boom. that's a good saying.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And we've continued to do that because time is a valuable asset.
Oh, for sure.
And if you start looking at how you invest that asset, I mean, you can get a great return on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I mean, glad we'll talk to tipping point,
Right,
this idea of time and leveraging time to create a certain result or leave, you know, a certain level of mastery. Mm-hmm. And I find that through relationships, you can also reach a level of mastery, you know, of understanding of yourself and others. And anyway, so the communities are a great way to foster that. And it's how I continue to learn.
Well, I think that's amazing. And like I mentioned, like that's something that I'm going to make a commitment to do. And however small or big it goes back there. Yeah. I think I was talking to a friend that was actually in Bali, but he was only for a week, so he didn't make it out to one of the Mondays. But I said, and I told him about it. And he's like, well, I said, what do you think how do you think that would go back in the city we live? He's like, there's going to be two people who laugh at it and say it's gay or it's a joke and how lame are these dudes doing that. And then there'll be people that are super hungry and wanting and just needing something like this. And I said, well, I don't care what people think of me. People can think whatever they want. But I think that for me, another kind of like getting value from doing it, like you mentioned, and like with this podcast is just part of the process, is I know the impact this has made on my life in the last month and how I look forward to it every week. It's a great way to start the week every Monday. And it's cool because the place I'm thinking about doing this at has like wing night on Monday. So it'd be a perfect kind of venue for it to just have some guys together, go get some wings, have a weekly check-in, just a chat, and just see how it goes. So you did that basically by saying you did the first couple, posted a couple pictures that, hey, we're doing this meetup every Monday for guys. If you want to come out, and that's pretty much how it grew organically from that.
Yeah. So a number of years ago, when I lived in Vancouver, there's a gentleman by the name of Connor Beaton. And
it sounds familiar for some reason.
Founder of Man Talks.
Oh, there you go. That's why. Okay. I listened to that podcast.
Yeah. So he's a friend of mine. And that, you know, he was in Vancouver at the time when that started. I remember us doing a Zoom call together. And he's like, so I got this idea, Dad. and he shared this idea with me. And I was like, dude, that's great. And I actually spoke at his very first Man Talks event.
Wow, really?
I was at Hootsuite, their office. And it was fun. And so the concept was a little bit different than what we're doing, but it was definitely a seed that was planted in me.
Okay.
This idea of connecting men that want more.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they want more. Yeah. And not just more stuff. Okay. Yeah. Like it's relationships. We want to have more understanding of self. We want to feel that we're enough. Yeah. You know, I could list off another dozen cliches, but we you know, it's a cliche, but they're foreign to us. Yeah. Weird. And it's all by choice. And so I remember his Man Talks, and it's very much like TED Talks, but we typically have male speakers speaking on a number of subjects, you know, that really relates to this theme, if you will. And what was really interesting is his group would often attract minimally about 30, 35%, upwards of some events, 50% of the people coming were women. Huh. So it was once a month they'd have this event where they'd have some speakers and be networking, and yet a lot of women were coming to it as well because they saw the types of men that were there. These are the kind of men they wanted to meet. You know what's really funny is I think you take me in a post of one of the groups that from the one is, and then a couple of girls I know posted and said this is the kind of things that all men need. It's like I want to meet some of these guys. It's so cool that men are doing this kind of work and being conscious of their personal development. And I could see why that would attract. So that was a seed. And, you know, I love what he was doing. And then me and another guy, Ricky Shetty, he'd be a great guy for you to talk to as well. Cool. He's very much in the digital space, been traveling the world with his 3 kids and wife.
Oh, wow.
He's actually in the Philippines right now. But him and I started a dad's group that would meet once a month. Like a group of dads that would get together and we talk about dad stuff. But it was very male centric, obviously, and a lot of the subjects broached that. It's just we had this common bond because we were all dads, we were all parents, and so when I got to Bali, I was really missing that because after 3 years of traveling, being on the road, or sorry, 2 years at that point, I was just like, I don't really have any deep male relationships here. Right. And so how do you create those kind of relationships? Well, it takes time. And I want to meet lots of people at once. And, you know, I happened to connect to the guys, Ian, especially at Nirvana Strength. We both spoke on a panel. Okay. We got into this conversation. They want to foster communities because they're all about whole life and bettering your life, not only on the physical side, but also on the mental and the spiritual, the emotional.
Good.
And so we just connected.
Awesome.
And he invited Christy and I to help start facilitating different types of events and communities. And so that's how that came to be. And we were like, well, I got this idea,
nice.
You know, and I like, you know, Mentorship Monday.
Yeah,
we have Table Topic Tuesday.
Yeah.
Wisdom and Women Wednesday. Alliteration, right?
Yeah,
it's the writer in me. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
And so we just thought, let's give this a whirl. And the craziest thing was, is we put it out there. I think there was 12 that came to the very first one, you know, because it was personal invites. And fortunately, you know, Nick, a mutual friend of both of us, he's been doing a lot of work with men for the last few years.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's been a big focus of his, but also a lot of work on himself. And so he's facilitated groups like this in Ubud. Yeah. Participated, but also facilitated. I said, hey, I'm going to start one down here. Yeah. And he just like, I'm there to support you.
Cool.
And he's been other than 2 that he's been away, he's been there every time. You know, this is like going on 6 months now. He's there every Monday.
Every Monday.
He drives down from Ubud, you know, and it's awesome. So I want to give him a lot of credit because he's been there to. Yeah. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just like, let's just bring some guys together. Yeah. We'll chat about stuff, you know.
Well, you're a great combo because I've known Nick for about 7 years because we were really heavy. We were kind of the only guys in the community that we were part of there that were really into personal development.
And we're 6'5" like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we had that initial bonding connection just from our height, and then we got to know each other. Yeah. Like he's done the Landmark Forum and a lot of other stuff that I've gone through and stuff. So we just really had this connection right away from just being tall dudes in Asia, but also being hungry for real growth and development. So I've been following his journey since he's been here, and he's kind of gone ahead of me of like what I kind of want to create, like coming over to Bali and doing things in another way here. So it's awesome for him. It just worked out so well to get that invite, like literally the day after I arrived here, come out, meet yourself and the whole community. And it's just been this awesome experience. This month has just been amazing. Thanks to what you guys have done, because I've met so many other guys like that I've had lunches and dinners and beach days with and stuff. So it's been really good because I find that I'm really lacking that connection with males in my city because I'm not really part of that nightlife scene anymore. Mm-hmm. Like dating and stuff, that stuff is fine, but you know, you can't really relate to a lot of dates on certain levels. So having a community of dudes here, it's been awesome. So what's next for you, man? What's going on with your next journeys, business-wise? Anything you want to kind of announce or people to kind of check out?
You know, I want to bring up one thing because I think those that are listening to this or watching this, you know, what you're doing is a perfect example of what you can do if you're lacking something in your life.
Yeah, just create it.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're going to a country where there's obviously a lack of this there, right? Like you've noticed that because just based on, I was going to say there's a bias there to alcohol, but it's obviously just cultural, right? Yeah. So you're going to be going against the grain a bit initially. Yeah. Because I don't think people are aware that there's another way.
I know.
And yet you've recognized something that you want. Yeah. And kind of the people that you want to attract. And so what better way? A lot of people just say, well, I don't have any of these groups I can plug into. I hear that a lot from people. Yeah. It's like, it's great that you have that. It's great that you created that, but I don't have access where I am to that. Yeah. Do you really? Like, I want to ask you, like, do you really? You know? And so I think for those that are listening to this, if you're lacking that, and this sounds like something that you want, just make it.
Exactly.
I bet you, I know for a fact, there's got to be at least 1 or 2 other guys within your vicinity or your immediate network that would like this idea.
Oh, for sure.
And if people are committed to doing it, it's great. That's all it takes. I mean, gosh, if I had 2 or 3 really solid guys to hang out with on a regular basis and talk about these types of things with, life would be very different. And I know it's been very different. And it's just now we're facilitating a little bit. We're giving other guys that are saying, well, I'd love to have something like that. Right. We're just giving them a forum now to facilitate those. You just talk like everything that was my vision. You just explained, and you know, you were here for a short period of time, for 1 month. Yeah. But think of all the relationships you made in 1 month. Yeah. You're going to take away. That's more than just going to Old Man's, having a couple beers. Oh, for sure. Yeah. You know, like it's just a much deeper relationship, and these would probably be relationships you have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely been a different trip because when I came to Bali, it was my 3rd trip to Bali, and before when I was here, it was more like partying, Kuta, Sky Garden, all those shenanigans. I haven't even been to Kuta yet. I haven't been to Sky Garden either. These are like the big kind of nightlife areas. And all I've been doing basically is surfing and connecting with a lot of guys in this group, doing podcasts. I've probably done about 10 podcasts since I've been here.
Wow.
So yeah, and that's just because of this connection of great dudes. So as far as traveling with your family, do you think you're going to be based in Bali, or is Vancouver on the horizon to go back there at any point? Or are you kind of living the, we have a mutual friend, Brian Swan, who was just on episode number 41, I think.
Cool.
So check that out, Unstoppable Family. And yeah, I had to get him in before he went to Europe.
No kidding.
So, but he's been traveling for like 10 years with his family. So can you see yourself doing something like that, or you want to?
We're slow travelers. Like it's one thing that I know for myself, especially my wife's a little bit different. She's done a lot of traveling in her life, and that's why there's such a passion for travel. But then she met me, and I was busy building a business and all that, and then we got into having kids, and so she sort of put that, the passion was always there. She just sort of realized, okay, well, this is the path we're on. I don't know how this is going to fit in again.
Right.
And then she started dripping on me about 5 years ago. And this is when I started struggling with, okay, well, here, I've been on this path now, 15 years, building a company, just really establishing myself as an authority in a niche.
Yeah, right.
And then all of a sudden, I started to look at where it could go. And I was very fortunate. My business partner is 20 years older than me.
20 years older.
20 years older than me. He was also one of my first significant business mentors, and spent a lot of time with this man. You know, we became partners in this company. And
what was the company?
Fitness Town.
Okay.
Fitness Town. So it was. He was one of the original founding partners of Fitness Depot, which is a national chain across Canada.
Yellow and
purple.
Yellow and purple.
Yeah,
I know that. Yeah.
And so we went blue and yellow with our brand, and that was Fitness Town, which was an offshoot of what they were doing. And we just started our own. And long and short, it was, I think it was probably one of the best things, because him being 20 years my senior, his kids were at that point going off to university the last couple of years, and just seeing that dynamic. Because when I first met him and started working with him, you know, he saw us have our kids. Like, he's got to see them growing up, and just
kind of like a father figure almost.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
He wouldn't call it that, because he didn't. That wasn't the kind of relationship that we had.
Yeah.
But I felt that way.
Sure.
You know, and he was definitely a strong male figure in my life, But I realized the path that he was on, I used to think that's what I wanted. And when you start shifting, you start growing in other ways, I started realizing this path that I was so committed to, so sure of, that I didn't want his life.
Sure. And what was that? What did that look like?
Well, it just, I mean, he's a very successful man. Like, you know, the company's still doing in excess of $10 million a year. Wow. And in retail sales, it's pretty significant. It's a lot of transactions. It's a big customer base.
That's big,
and it does very well. And it's one of the largest in our industry, you know, for privately owned and operated. And
that's huge.
Yeah, so it's great. I mean, it's nice to say I helped create that. You know, it's fun. And but I started realizing, well, I could keep doing this, and it's fine. I can just keep doing this. Keep doing this, and I could have a nice house like he does, have the cars, you know, I could have the money in the bank, I could have all this stuff. Yeah. But I was like, well, that means I have to do this for another 20 years.
Right.
Do I really want that end goal? Is that really my dream? Is that what I want? And you know, my wife and I, we've been on this path of personal growth and just development, and you know, changing how we associate with people and who we associate with. And we just started growing. And I was like, I don't want all that stuff anymore. I don't want that future. Right. So we changed things, and it was scary as hell, because it meant me leaving a career I was sure this is the path for me. Wow. And you know, I'm still on that path now, trying to discover, well, what is the next thing? What is we want to do? And we're very fortunate. Like, I'm a life coach and nutrition coach, as well as a fitness coach. And so I help people with all those three disciplines, but I also do a lot of business coaching. Okay. And I've built a very established platform online, and carved out a great niche for myself. And I love that. And so I teach others how to do the same. And I love it, because it allows me to be remote. Right. And I can be anywhere. With good Wi-Fi, I'm good, you know?
Well, that's the thing. You had a comfort zone that you sound like a very good lifestyle, very good business, successful. And then you looked at where you'll be 20 years from now, and you said, well, that's not really inspiring. That's not really where I want to end up. And then you probably did something that was quite uncomfortable, especially having a family and young kids, to go in a different direction. Yeah. That takes a lot of balls.
Well, and I'll say my wife, she's one with the big balls, because Christy, you should come say hi. And she's scratching. No, she's not. She's because she's very good at. Well, it's a technique that Tim Ferriss talks about in one of his TED Talks. You know, it's this fear pacing or
right.
you
Yeah,
know,
I saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's the first one that always reminded me, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Go back and get jobs.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
and that's the thing. But that is the worst.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, that is the worst that can happen. We're very employable people.
Right. Yeah.
We can get jobs. Like we can go back to it. We can go. We can do stuff. Like it's, you know, like there's options. And when you really accept that, it removes a lot of the pressure
and the fear
and the internal fear that we have with just making a commitment to at least following a certain path. And I still don't know it all figured out. Like I don't have it all figured out.
Exactly.
That's okay. We're figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
And but right now, we community is important to us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've built a lot of online communities, but I wanted to foster offline communities. I just felt this need because we used to have that in Vancouver. Then when we were traveling, you know, so back to the question, will we continue to travel? I think so, but we're slow traveling. So we'll probably live 3 to 6 months in a place, and then Bali probably 3 to 6 months. So we'll live in another part of the world for half the year, and then Bali half the year.
Cool.
Like this will stay
home base.
You know, there's something magical
looks pretty good.
Well,
looks pretty good. Like this is definitely beats the rainy Vancouver weather, and for a fraction of the price.
Yes.
Like that's a huge lifestyle.
Great quality of life.
Yeah. Fraction of the price.
A small fraction comparatively. I mean, obviously we could get. We could increase our overhead and get a lot more. Yeah. We're not concerned about the more.
Exactly.
We're concerned just about what do we really need.
Yeah.
And we don't want to compromise on other things.
Yeah.
Like, I like to get 5 massages a week. I like to have memberships at multiple gyms. I like, there's certain things that I really like, you know, and the food especially. Yeah. I don't compromise on that. Yeah. You know, I don't compromise on my self-care. Yeah. Because I don't have to.
Here you
don't have to.
Here you don't.
No, back in Vancouver, I'd be lucky.
You can have it all. You could have it all.
Yeah. And so we'll continue doing that. And where does it go from there? I don't really know. And, fortunately, I'll be back in Vancouver in a couple months. I'm doing a keynote. Okay. So I still keynote occasionally here and there. And
so for a conference?
There's a conference being put on by municipal city managers. So it's a government conference. And so we do a dinner keynote, you know, a soiree, and so it'll be a lot of fun because it's talking about work-life balance. And really the illusion thereof.
You got the perfect guy for that. Yeah.
I love talking about stuff and talking about burnout and just you know, ways to not feel so peg-holed in and not have choices. I think that's the biggest thing that really gets me excited is helping people realize that they do have choices. Right. Just sometimes we don't realize that.
So if you could take people through just real quick. So you went from having this really successful business, and then you said that you've started this different brand online. What was your first kind of ways to kind of, now you're doing online courses, you're doing these keynote speeches. How did you kind of start this new Dai, I guess?
Well, Toastmasters was a big one.
Okay, I wanted to touch on that because you do run the great events here.
Well, thank you. And Toastmasters is it's a nonprofit, global organization. It's all volunteer driven. Yeah. I met a man that came to one of the networking groups I was a part of. It was like a mastermind group. Yeah. And he came in, he was one of the speakers one month. And I was mesmerized by this guy. Yeah. He just had this way of captivating all of us. Wow. And I looked at him, I was like, I want to be like that guy. Okay. And that's why I cornered him after this talk and before he left. And I was like, so.
Kind of like I did with you to invite you onto the podcast.
I think I was a bit more creepy to him because I was a bit of fanboy in him. I was like, dude, that was amazing. Like I was really impressed by just the way he presented himself, and we hung on every word, right? Right. And so how did you get to be able to do this? Like to speak with such confidence and power, and yet at the same time inspiration. And he just said, "Why go to Toastmasters?" Wow. Like, literally. That was on a Friday. Yeah. And the following Monday, after the weekend, I found it the closest one to my house. And I started going.
This is in Vancouver.
10 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I've been around that community for 10 years. And I mean, you want really focused personal and professional development. It's probably one of the best organizations because it only costs about $80-90 a year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's like I think my club is $120 a year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
$10 a month to get this great education in being a better speaker and being a better leader. Yeah. So that's the number one thing I tell everybody. And I know, listen, I was very fearful of public speaking. I did not like it. Okay. But I also
here you are now leading keynotes.
Yeah, well, it was something I was intimidated by. Yeah. And so what better way to get better? Well, you find mentors, right? Like you look for people that are already doing great and that are willing to help you. And fortunately, it's an organization that's why it thrives. That's its jam, man. That's what it does. And then I started blogging just over 10 years ago.
Okay.
Just out of fun and passion to help others. And I had so many people always reaching out to me through my current business at the time, which is selling fitness equipment and helping people make lifestyle changes. And I just started documenting all the answers.
Sure.
You know, I write these lengthy emails. I was like, man,
I can just,
I just got lazy. Okay. I did. I got lazy. It's like you with these podcasts. Think about you'll be triggered. Oh, I had a conversation on episode 13 with so-and-so. You know, someone asks you questions like, listen to this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And that's the same thing with the articles on my blog. You know, there's over 1,300 articles on my site now. Like,
wow.
There's so much content there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And so now people reach out. Hey, what can you tell me about probiotics? I'm like, oh, well, I've got 12 articles that talk about different aspects of probiotics. What do you want to know?
Yeah.
And I just send the links, and people are like, whoa, that's great.
Yeah.
What about hormones? Oh, I got like a dozen on hormones, you know, like, so I got all this content.
Yeah.
But you know, I've been doing that for now 11 years. It just built. And social built along with that. Instagram, Facebook, just built.
Yeah.
And
put in the work, basically. Put in the work, create good content, and build it, and people will come.
Yeah. Deliver value, man. Like just make a difference in others' lives. Because in doing that, it's again, I feel rather selfish saying it, but that's what fuels me.
Well, I can tell, you know, I can tell because just seeing you at these events and just seeing the passion you have, you know, just one thing that was really impressive, knowing how sick you were during a couple of those weeks, but you just kept showing up and showing up and showing up, even though you're on these antibiotics and really sick, your family was away. You could have any excuse to be like, hey guys, I'm not going to make it to this one. Nick's going to take it, but you were just showing up, and that's a great testament of who you are as a person, but also who you need to be able to build up the amazing following and businesses that you have and communities. So people follow a great leader like yourself. So I'm going to have your link posted below here for your blog and social media. Is there anything else you want to direct people to, or things coming up on the horizon?
Listen, if you want to make a change, make a change.
Yeah.
Like I know it sounds stupid, simple.
Yeah.
But don't confuse simple with easy.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you to do, it will take work. It won't be natural. It will prove challenging a lot of the times because we have certain things that are comfortable, like sitting on the couch, eating junk food and watching Netflix all day is very comfortable.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Right? Like you avoid life all entirely and all the things that bring you pain.
Yeah.
Or as Buddha would say, suffering, right? Like there's a lot of suffering in the world. And however, you know, you got one life, make the most of it. Like that's a choice that you have to make. And if you're struggling with that, I want to invite people to reach out to me.
Yeah.
Just reach out to me. I've got a book that gives you a fixed 28 days. You give me 30 minutes a day. That's all I need. 2% of 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you're willing to commit to 28 days and give me 30 minutes a day. I'll change your life. That's all I can say.
I think that's a no-brainer.
And that's it. So just reach out to me and we can chat about that. It's a free program online. Awesome. Like, I mean, there's what's the hidden agenda here? Well, nothing. But inevitably people want to hire me as a coach to work with them personally. Yeah. If that's something of interest, reach out to me.
Awesome.
That's it. That's all.
Well, that's a great offer, and just seeing the transformation you made in your life and the results you've gotten in your life, and for the many people that have been following your content and communities you've been creating, man, I just want to acknowledge you for just making a ripple effect from Vancouver all the way over here to Asia. It's global. It's been a journey, and I'm just really grateful that we've been able to connect, and I'm sure that we'll continue to along the journey. So thanks from your beautiful villa here in Canggu, Bali.
Come visit us.
Dai Manuel. It's got a great story, and the links are below, guys. So if you got value from this, follow up with him on his offer. Take a look at what he's doing here. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead, share it with a friend, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And this is my last Mentorship Monday tonight. This is my last week in Bali. So it's been a month, just flew by, but these Mondays have been the highlight of it. So I can't wait to come out and see the whole crew for one last.
I have to come see one in Korea.
I'll have
to come up for a visit.
Literally, I get back next Sunday. I'm going to make a post about it next week. And then my goal is to start it off beginning of March. Like just put it right into action right away, keep the momentum going.
Oh, amazing.
So we'll see. I'll keep you updated for sure.
Let me know how I can help. I'm there to help. So this is great. Changing people's lives.
If you ever want to come over to South Korea, you'll definitely have a group of guys there to get connected with.
Yes.
All right.
Make it happen.
So there you go, guys. Thanks. That's a really inspiring episode. And we'll see you all on the next one. Peace.